welcome back to First Chapter Friday from the Alameda Free Library. This week I'm going to be reading the first chapter of Marikit and the Ocean of Stars by Caris Avendano Cruz. And this book is published by Farrar Straus Giroux, New York. Here is Chapter 1, Yellow. Marikit, Filipino, adjective, pretty. Usually attributed to stars, fine ladies, and a small girl with thick, wavy hair constantly running under the sun in old, remodeled clothes. Marikit Lakandu was nearly 10 and very much certain that shadows didn't blink. Shadows didn't have eyes to do so. Shadows only trailed beneath her soles whenever she ran around the dusty, unpaved roads of Barrio Marikit. Yet when she stooped down to survey the sand caught in her rubber slippers, she had to scrub her eyes and pinch her cheeks 2 times over. It was there, a shadow, swelling with its dim shade, gaping at her with its big sun-washed yellow eyes before it closed one of its peepers. She looked around and wondered if the other kids had seen it. 16 heads with the scent of the sun and sticky air bobbed in front of her, and 24 more behind her occasionally rose on their tiptoes and mumbled, "Is it open yet?" All of them had been standing in front of a yellow gate that reflected the scorching heat of the cloudless April afternoon. The sun had smothered itself on the tall coconut trees and made shadows of the many leaves, filling the dusty path with many shades of black, under which they took refuge. It must be the leaves. Marikit slouched down to look closely at the shadows, blacks upon blacks, swaying at the movement of the wind. The only other reason she could think of was that she was na encanto, enchanted, spell-casted, made an unknown spirit angry, and for that she was cursed. The crowd of yellow-wearing kids let out a scream, and she jolted back. Did they see it? But Marikit, upon looking up, only saw 2 people coming through the yellow gate, carrying a many-tiered yellow cake, passing under a large yellow banner, on which was written, "Welcome to Jana's super-fabulously splendid 10th birthday party." "Come inside, children, one by one, and don't push," ordered a lady with shoulder-length permed hair and a yellow gingham dress, waving her manicured hands as she bid the young guests in. One by one, the busy, buzzy crowd followed, stepping over the threshold as the woman examined them before giving them a yellow party hat. Not all came through. Many times she stopped a child, pushed them back, and turned them away. "Not enough yellow," Mrs. Solomon told a girl with tiny yellow rings on her bright pink dress. "Not yellow enough," Mrs. Solomon told a boy who wore a shirt with thin beige stripes. The celebrant's mother was very particular about the yellow on the garment, and the closer Marikit got to the gate, the more she forgot about the shadow. What she feared now was to be found out that her dress wasn't yellow. If one observed closely, Marikit's party dress used to be white. The A-line frock was a hand-me-down from her mother with a Peter Pan collar, droopy lace sleeves, and a fake pearl button. It used to be pretty. That was what Marikit's name meant, pretty. But like people, things grew old. They shriveled and sulked and cracked their bones and lost their glow. Marikit's dress did. Rust and moth dusts had clung to its skirt. Spatters of yellow stains sloshed all across its corners. How unfortunate that Marikit had no other yellow clothes. And so, when it was her turn, Marikit closed her eyes and stepped forward, nervously awaiting her judgment. "Come in," Mrs. Solomon said sharply. Marikit couldn't believe her ears. "Ma'am?" She opened her eyes. Mrs. Solomon, instead of surveying Marikit from head to toe, was more preoccupied with her own bright yellow manicure with French tips, whining about one of her nails chipping. The lady took a quick glance at Marikit, turned her head away, and by the grace of Batalda, only beckoned next. Without a second thought, Marikit skipped happily through the gate. Janice Solomon's super fabulously splendid 10th birthday party was almost entirely yellow. The Solomon sprawling garage was decorated with big yellow balloons that hovered behind yellow ribbon chairs set around yellow gingham-covered tables, each of them hiding yellow bags that served as party favors. The center table featured a 3-tiered birthday cake enveloped in buttercream and drizzled with golden confetti. Beside it was a mouth-watering lechon that had a golden apple underneath its snout. There was a glass barrel of mango juice with real mango bits, a large platter of pancit, different kinds of yellow puto topped with cheese, overflowing spaghetti, 2 tubs of mango ice cream, and hot dogs on sticks embellished with yellow marshmallows. Marikit sat at the end of the celebrants' table, where a wobbly little stool was left empty. Her seatmates, unfortunately, were sharp-eyed, gossipy little guests who took pride in their actually yellow outfits. Yellow blouses with gold buttons and sequined pockets, tulle skirts with glitters, and yellow corduroy pinafores paired with preppy yellow shirts. Sharp little eyes made it obvious that Marikit didn't deserve her spot. Ah, poor Marikit. She felt more out of place when the girls pushed their chairs together, far away from her, leaving her outstanding in her pale, discolored dress. They're laughing at me, Marikit thought. And she was right. The shadows were always there, blooming in places where there was no light. These shadows didn't linger under human feet. No, they were remarkably riotous and reckless, going off on their own to make trouble in the dark. They loved feasting on sorrow and dismay, and they found the very girl. Alone in her corner, Marikit kept her head down as she clutched her rust-tainted skirt. She did not laugh when the yellow-haired clowns bungled their magic on stage. She did not sing when Mrs. Solomon finally instigated the birthday song. She only looked up when Janice Solomon finally appeared, for she heard everyone gasp and say, "Oh, she looks like a Diwata." Diwata, a fairy. Jana walked onto the stage with a shimmering crown on her head. She tiptoed on her 2-inch heel sandals with jewels on the straps. Her sunshine yellow gown dropped to her ankles with flowy fairy sleeves and a sweetheart neckline and a flower embroidery that dripped down the layers of the chiffon skirt that billowed from the waist. "Now that's a dress," a girl with a yellow polka dot shirt said. "Where do you think she bought it?" asked one girl with a big fluffy yellow headband. "At the mall, of course," answered a girl with a yellow plaid shirt. "Every nice thing can be bought at the mall." "Looks beautiful," swooned a girl with the sunflower patterned dress. "Looks expensive," remarked the girl with the shimmering yellow blouse. "Not like someone else's dress," hooted the girl with the bright yellow pants. All of them passed a hot look at Marikit. "I'm sure hers is old," noted the girl with the gold ruffle skirt. "I'm sure hers smells funny," commented the girl with the yellow cat's ears. "I'm sure she does too," mused a girl with lemon print on her pinafore. Oh, our dear Marikit. She heard it all. She burned with so much rage as she hung her head, letting her dark wavy hair cover the tears that started to fall down her cheeks. "You'll see," she mumbled quietly behind her teeth. "My birthday is coming, and I'm going to look like a Diwata too." And so, when the party was over, when the crowd of yellow-wearing children waved goodbye to their celebrant as they carried their yellow packets under their arms, Marikit ran home, her heart thumping with a wild new thought. She ran on the dusty ground with her equally dusty slippers, past the concrete bungalow homes at Acacia Street, past the swaying bamboo groves at Kawanyan Street, and past the boatmakers' homes at Bankaroo Street to reach home, Sampaguita Street. There, a time-worn brown house, outstandingly cramped in between 2 similarly shabby properties, gaped into the world with its large, broken Capiz windows, while the rest of the neighborhood gurgled with all kinds of noise, mothers gossiping by the doorways, fathers clumped at the table outside their houses, grumbling at a game of cards, children playing wildly in the middle of the street. The house of the Lacandulas was quiet. There was no shouting in it, no laughing, no gossiping. The only sound inside was the prevalent rat-a-tat-tat that came from the machine set beside the window, manned by a pair of productive hands that wound the wheels and a pair of eyes that occasionally peeped from the frame. Marikit slowed down as she passed their window, having a glimpse at those gaunt eyes. They were very much like Marikit's eyes, except older, more solemn, and they bore less sleep in them. She entered through the door, toed off her rubber slippers, and rose in the steps. "Nane!" she shouted with all of her lungs. "Nane!" Aling Anita sat by the old sewing machine, patiently hemming the edges of a flower-printed fabric. She stopped as soon as Marikit entered the door. "Nane!" Marikit ran across the wood slat floor, almost toppling the boat in a glass bottle perched precariously on the wall. She slid into her mother's lap and looked up with full eyes. "You have not forgotten that my birthday is in June, right?" Aling Anita softly nodded with wonder. How could she forget? She and her daughter had the same birthday, right on the date of the summer solstice. And it's been years and years that have passed, and we never celebrate anything, not a single thing, Marikit reminded her. "Remember? Last year we only had warmed over pancit. Last year you promised we'd eat at Jollibee, and then we didn't. Don't you remember what Tate always told us? Promises we break will break us." Aling Anita smoothed Marikit's sweaty forehead with her calloused hands. "What is it that you want, Anak?" Her fingers flicked into a beautiful dance of unspoken words. Marikit pressed her Nane's palms with her small hot fists. "A dress, a new dress, a dress unlike any other. A dress so beautiful I'll look like a Diwata on my 10th birthday." She jumped around so much that the wood slat floors began to creak. "It should have fluttery sleeves," Marikit twirled, "a balloon skirt with many, many ruffles, a nice little sash and a large bow to tie at the back, and it must be blue, Nane," Marikit added last. "Blue, the color of the sky, the color of the sea, the color of Tate's banca. Blue, blue, blue." "All right, dear," Aling Anita gestured. "Now let me get back to work." "Promise, Nane?" Marikit pressed on, not taking her eyes off her mother. Aling Anita gazed at Marikit with a long, lingering stare. Marikit knew this look. It was a look as if Aling Anita was trapped in the prison of her own hands. She'd move her fingers, but they would only quake and would not make gestures. Marikit would always think it was one of those joint pains and that her Nane was having a bad spell. After all, if one only sewed too much, their hands would get tired too. "Nane?" Marikit asked again, shaking her nanny's thigh. "My dress?" Marikit, perhaps, would never understand the way Aling Anita's lips quivered. Her teeth blocked a tide of words she tried to set free from the tips of her fingers, words that refrained from falling, for it was like her husband said, "Promises we break will break us." Yet, at that moment, as she sat in her chair, Aling Anita gave it all until a worn-out smile appeared on her sad mouth. She lifted her quaking palm, the silver thimble gleaming on her finger as she gestured, "Promise." Wow, what a great first chapter. I hope that you are intrigued enough to read the rest of this really fabulous middle grade novel and find it at the Alameda Free Library. See you next time.